Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy Bernie here, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And I hope you guys are enjoying your Tuesday, May 10th afternoon. Whether you are in the East Coast, West Coast, doesn't matter. Whether you're having dinner, whether you're having lunch, whether you're after school, whatever it is that you're doing. Thank you for making us part of your day. Again, we are so appreciative of you guys tuning into the channel, checking everything out. And of course, today we're going to have a little bit of a doozy for today's episode. We're actually going to talk about Jeanie Buss and how she vows to make it better for the Los Angeles Lakers faithful. And before we do get started on that, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Remember, the more likes, the more subscribers, the more this channel can grow and flourish and develop into something where a lot of people can be very invested in this channel and be invested in learning about just NBA news and rumors. And again, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And again, I do apologize that we are not in our setup. Again, we are going to be there hopefully by the end of next week or the start of next week. And hopefully we can kind of continue to grow this channel to the way I think it should be. But without further ado, let's get right into the news. So, first thing we got to talk about is Jeanie Buss says she isn't happy and vows to make it better when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers. We clearly have heard this from Bill Plaschke talking with Jeanie Buss talking to the Los Angeles Times and talking about how she is not happy being eliminated from the playoffs. She goes on to say, "I'm growing impatient just because we had the fourth highest payroll in the league. When you spend that kind of money on the luxury tax and you expect to go deep into the playoffs," she told the Times. "So yeah, it was gut-wrenching for me to go out on a limb, and that was not the result we were looking for. I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied." You know what happened last time Jeanie Buss wasn't happy or satisfied? It was ugly. It was powerful. And, of course, Bill Plaschke goes on to talk about the year where she kicked out her brother and basically the rest of her siblings to basically acquire full 100% ownership of the Los Angeles Lakers, brought in Rob Pelinka, brought in Magic Johnson, brought in a bunch of people, Linda Rambis, Kurt Rambis, and basically just created the Lakers what we see them today, obviously winning that championship in the bubble. And, of course, you know, with Magic Johnson leaving at the end of it. And we also got to talk about who recently came back. Two of her ex-lovers. I wouldn't say ex-lovers, but people that, well, one's an ex-lover. The other one is she is, you know, a family friend. And, of course, that being Magic Johnson and Phil Jackson are back in the picture of helping the Los Angeles Lakers become a team again. It's a little weird. So here's what I'll say first about that story. We obviously know that Jeanie Buss is not happy with the way things went this last season. We know that Jeanie Buss is not one of the richest owners. I think her net worth alone is worth 500. I can't remember. I think it's worth 500 million. I think is what her net worth is. So let me look that up really quick. Net worth. So Jeanie Buss's net worth is 500 million. So she's not the richest owner in the league. And, you know, for a team that with the Los Angeles Lakers, with spending so much money, with all the stuff going on, you can clearly see why someone from her position would be very upset, because you have billionaire owners like Steve Ballmer, Mark Cuban, and many other kind of millionaires that are making a lot of money. You know, they are the ones that you could say, okay, maybe they can like have the fourth largest payroll and be okay with being average. But with the Los Angeles Lakers history, with Jeanie Buss and the wealth that she has, there's no time, there's no place for not having an acquired ample amount of money. You know, the Los Angeles Lakers are a great historic franchise. And the fact that they had that payroll and just couldn't get to the championship, or at least in the playoffs, was a little bit disappointing. Again, they were my picks in the preseason to win. The fact that they kind of disappointed and floundered at the end of the day was a little frustrating, I would say. So, what I will say about this whole thing and whole situation when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers is that they need to decide what they're going to do. Are they going to be a team that decides, hey, we're going to get rid of some people, not get rid of some people? But the problem with Jeanie Buss, and this has been my biggest issue with her as an owner, is that she allows too many, and the article goes on to say that she's a very collaborative person. She likes to collaborate with many other people to kind of get different ideas, right? She's someone that likes to take different ideas and make it into a melting pot. But the problem with that sometimes can be, when it comes to some situations, is the fact that you just cannot have that many cooks in the kitchen, right? When it comes to, you know, adding a lot of pieces, adding a lot of different things, you just cannot have that many people in the kitchen. I mean, we saw Magic Johnson in there. he left. Like, Magic Johnson quit on his own. It wasn't something where Magic Johnson was like, oh, I was fired or anything like that. She let him, or he went away. And the fact that Jeanie Buss is so, I would say, forgiving in that sense, I think is a little bit, I think it's a good thing in terms of being able to forgive quickly, but also can be a very bad thing as well in terms of not really finding out like who the right person is for your organization, who's the right person to get you over the hump of getting to that next championship, of continuing to build this championship. I even think Rob Pelinka has to be on the hot seat this year because of the fact that this team really should have been a playoff contender. This team should have been at least a top 5 team. Like, that they have one of the best players of all time on the roster. They have a young player in Anthony Davis who, again, could potentially be a great player in this league, but the injuries to me are just harming him. And then, of course, you have Russell Westbrook, a multiple-time MVP. You thought that this was going to be a top 4 roster. At the end of the day, it wasn't. It was a team that didn't even make the playing game. And that, to me, is the frustrating part if you're a Lakers fan, or if you're just a fan of rebuilds and things like that are happening around the league. You have to be frustrated with the result because you want this to be a situation where you build something from it. You build a team. You build character. But at the end of the day, that just didn't happen. And the Lakers have to kind of live with reap what they sow in that game, or reap what they sow this season. And I just think that bringing Phil Jackson as a general manager is a bad news bears as well. We all saw him as a New York Knicks manager, GM. It just did not bode well. And so I think that, as much as I think Jeanie Buss has done a great job with some of the stuff that she's done, I think obviously winning a championship, you have to give her credit. There's no reason to not give her credit. But what I think you can't give her credit for is just allowing people back into the organization that probably should not be back in the organization. Like I said, I think Magic Johnson, as a fan, as a spectator, as an ambassador of the Lakers, perfect. I think that's his best job. But bringing him as someone that you would want to listen to for influence, just like you did with LeBron James, just like you did with Rob Pelinka, just like you did with many other people in the organization, I just don't think that bringing back Magic Johnson would solve any problems. And I don't know about you guys, but I think it's, maybe it's just my personality, but I just don't know if like bringing back your ex-lover to come help coach you, especially, with the way things ended, right? Not to get too much in like the personal life, right, of all these guys, but they were set to get married, didn't get married, and then now you're expected to bring him back into a position and a role where he is basically an advisor for you. I think Phil Jackson can get a role on any team and do that, but for some reason, I just don't know if he's really the right guy for Jeanie Buss to build a team around his advice and opinions. Again, like we talked about, Jeanie Buss has different opinions coming from each and every direction. I think the biggest thing that's going to have to happen for Jeanie Buss, what's going to have to happen for a lot of these people, is figuring out how do we get back and build this roster out again to a situation where we can actually, kind of enjoy back to glory championships that they really need. Like the Lakers are a historic franchise. They want to do everything they can to beat the Celtics and beat them in championships. The Celtics had that lead. Obviously, they lost it, and now it's all about the situation where, can the Lakers get back to prominent? Can they get back to glory? I just don't know if they can with the roster that they have currently. They're obviously going to have to do a lot of different things. I think another person that we have to look at is Melinda Rambis as well. Apparently she's having some sort of say in the decision-making. Jeanie Buss denies it in this article, but what I will say is that I'm just not sure if I buy that. I really do think that she has a lot of influence on this organization, a lot of influence on what's going on. Her role is clearly that as soon as the players sign, she gets them situated and acclimated to the environment and the place in Los Angeles. I can see Linda Rambis just doing the same thing of just like, hey, we should bring this player. This player would be so easy to kind of fit in here, and I think it would be so easy to kind of get him acclimated because, he's this type of player. Like, he loves this area. Like, I think I can get him somewhere. And so I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to everything that I'm noticing for the Lakers, I think there's too many cooks in the kitchen. They need to limit how many cooks they have in there, because if you continuously add more and more people to a point where it's like you have 100 people collaborating on the Lakers, who's really got the final say? I mean, Jeanie Buss does, but I just think, adding a lot of different opinions can be, I would say, especially when it comes to building a team and building a culture and organization where, you want it to be like the old days, like your dad used to have back in the Showtime Lakers that are showing on HBO right now. Like, if you want those type of Lakers, you have to go back to those days. And I just don't think Jeanie Buss has the patience or I would say the patience or the kind of mental fortitude to just be like, okay, I'm not going to listen to you guys. We're going with this decision. Because I think at the end of the day, I think she's a people pleaser. I think she likes to please the people around her. She likes to listen. She likes to, be collaborative. But at the end of the day, if her friends, like, for example, can't be straight up with her about something, or if, like, they feel like if they say something wrong, they're going to lose their job. So they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to kind of say what she agrees with. Then that leads to bad situations as well. It leads to no one really challenging her opinions, no one challenging her story, no one challenging her way of thinking. And you need that in order for a team to be successful in this league. And again, I just don't necessarily think that Magic Johnson or Phil Jackson is the person to bring back for your team. Again, they just interviewed Terry Stotts, the former Blazers coach. I'm not sure about that one. We'll see who else they interview. I'm not sure if they've interviewed Quinn Snyder yet or at all. I'm not sure if they even talked to him. Mark Jackson, I think, is another person that could be potentially getting the job as well. I don't know. All I know is that Jeanie Buss needs to decide relatively quickly what she's going to do with her team, what she's going to do with her roster, because she needs to really step it up in terms of where to go with everything. Again, she listens to LeBron James, and this year I think LeBron James kind of led her astray because, LeBron James's camp really wanted Russell Westbrook, and that's fine. Players can miss on free agents as well, just as much as GMs and agents can also miss on players too, right? So I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to everything that we're noticing here for the Los Angeles Lakers and what their future moves should be, the biggest question that you should ask yourself as a Lakers fan is, how do we move past this season? And the way you move past this season is starting to think about what you're going to do for the next offseason. Like, who are you trading? What players are you getting rid of? And I just think that, Jeanie Buss has to be part of those conversations. I think she will be, because I think she's frustrated with the way that, like she talked about in the article, she's the fourth highest payroll in the league, and yet they didn't make the playoffs. I mean, we can look at the highest payroll in the NBA really quick. And this would be the Golden State Warriors, obviously being the biggest one with their huge contracts. Brooklyn Nets, the Clippers, the Timberwolves. Crazy that the Timberwolves are up there. Milwaukee Bucks, Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, top six. And most of those teams, besides the Washington Wizards, who are 8, are all playoff contending teams. Meanwhile, you have teams that are at the kind of bottom that are not collecting that much money. And again, that to me is the situation where especially when it comes to the Lakers, when you have to, go into the luxury tax and pay that much money, again, it makes sense for the Milwaukee Bucks. They're contending for a championship. It makes sense for the Brooklyn Nets. They were going for a championship. Golden State Warriors, same thing, going for a championship. But when you start moving down the list of teams that are high in the luxury tax, that is where, I can agree with Jeanie Buss in that sense, where why would I want to pay that much money if we're not making the playoffs? And why I would voice my frustration with it, because at the end of the day, if we can't build this roster to get a championship, why should I pay extra money or, pay that extra, $1.20 to the dollar for everybody that you're over the cap? I mean, you got to be able to, stay under. I mean, the Phoenix Suns are under the cap. The Cavaliers under the cap. Boston Celtics under the cap. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how much the players under the cap. And so we'll see what happens here in the near future when it comes to what the Lakers can do to get themselves under the cap, or at least contending for a championship. Because I think at the end of the day, the Lakers want to get that 18th championship. They want to show it off in the Celtics' face. And hey, man, I'm all about that fight. I'm all about that competition, because that's what breeds the best people, is that competition of wanting to be better, wanting to do better each and every day, wanting to be the best team, wanting to be the best person. That is what I think people need to strive for. And so we'll see what happens with the LA Lakers. I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section down below of Jeanie Buss declaring officially that she is not happy with the Los Angeles Lakers and that changes will be made very, very soon. Like I said, let me know in the comment section down below. And please, guys, remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, welcome to The Charge. Give me the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. This, of course, is going to be it for the video. Like I said, let me know what you think about the Lakers stuff in the comment section down below. Anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.